Now, another way you can play the software sector is by investing in a software-focused ETF. The Global X Cloud Computing ETF, CLOU, isn't sector-specific, but it does have a strong weighting of top software stocks. Here now to take a deeper look at the ETF as well as trends in cloud computing is Jay Jacobs. He's the Senior Vice President and Head of Research and Strategy at Global X. Thanks so much for joining me today, Jay.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so the software sector, it has been such a standout group this year. What do you attribute to the strong performance that we've seen broadly across this sector?
Well, we've seen this big bifurcation within technology where tech hardware has been very affected by the trade wars because they have to source a lot of their production through Asia, they're selling into Asia. But if you look at the software space, it's actually very much the opposite. It's being developed in the United States. Most of the sales growth is coming from domestic sources. So it's become kind of a tale of two different types of technology with software much more insulated from geopolitical risk right now.
Interesting. And then I feel like the strength is pretty broad too, whether it's enterprise software, cybersecurity. So as a whole, in the different pockets, it's looking pretty good so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of strength out of the software as a service space, the SaaS space. It's a great business model. These are, companies are taking their in-house IT and offloading it onto another company and getting, kind of constant updates of that software. They're getting cloud storage of their data so that it can be accessed anywhere. And it's a recurring revenue model. So they're paying, every quarter or every month, which again, when you start to see a little bit of shakiness in the global economy, knowing that check is going to come in every quarter gives a lot more stability to that business.
And since we've seen such strong performances broadly this year, I think the question now is, what's going to keep that going? What sort of growth drivers are here that's going to sustain the growth in this group?
Yeah, I mean, so what's interesting about, kind of cloud computing more generally and software as a service more specifically is, although these technologies have been around for a long time, in some cases more than 20 years, it's still early in the adoption curve. So some estimates show that, only 50% of IT has really moved into the cloud or moved into software as a service. So there's still a huge addressable market that hasn't even been penetrated yet. So, companies that are very involved in the SaaS space don't see, our work here is done. They still have a lot more work to do in terms of selling into these new businesses. And that's happening at the very large enterprise space, as well as in the small businesses around the United States that want to offload a lot more of those services to cutting edge software companies.